The Runeterra Expedition mode is a draft mode where you'll be given the choices between choosing sets of cards to put into a drafted deck. Do you often find yourself not knowing what cards to pick? Do you instantly regret the choices you make after picking cards? The idea is to pick cards that work well with the rest of the deck, choosing a good mix of followers and spells to complement the champion pick. This video will talk you through the top 10 cards to pick in Legends of Runeterra Expedition mode based on their win rate. At number 10 is Shadow Assassin with a win rate of 57.13%. Shadow Assassin is a 3 mana cost follower from the Ionia region with 2 power and 2 health. It has the additional effect that when it is summoned, you can instantly draw 1 card, making it an extremely efficient card. Low-cost elusive cards can be a huge early game threat, and a normal solution to prevent early game aggro would be using cards like Will of Iona to prevent these attacks proceeding. Interestingly, Will of Iona has a high use rate in Expedition mode, and Shadow Assassin's effect can use this recall effect to its advantage. If Shadow Assassin is recalled, then it can be summoned the following turn, allowing you to draw a further 1 card. Due to the high play rate of Will of Iona and this effect, I think it is fantastic for Expedition mode. It has a high play rate of 19.54%. Outside of Expedition mode, Shadow Assassin is actually the most played card. At number 9 is Entreat with a win rate of 59.31%. Entreat is a 2 mana cost burst spell from the Freylord region, with the effect that you can instantly draw a champion. Interestingly, the most burst spells currently appear in the Freylord region, with 11 out of 44 that are currently in the game. Drawing champions is a strong ability in draft. This is mainly down to decks containing much less champions than the standard meta decks, especially in the earlier rounds of draft where you only have 2 or 3 champions in the deck. Freylord has some great champions including Braum, which actually has the highest win rate out of all Freylord champions at 58.87%. I would avoid Ashe for the time being as her win rate sits at 40.75, which is very low. Entreat currently has a play rate of 14.86%. At number 8 is Thermogenic Beam with a win rate of 60.12%. Thermogenic Beam is a slow spell card from the Piltover and Zarn region, which involves you spending all your mana to deal that much to a unit. This includes any spell mana you may have. Even though this card is a slow spell, it can kill most units in a single swoop regardless of what part of the game it is, due to its variable mana cost. I would suggest using it in late game to get the most value out of it. Use it to take out cards with higher than average health, like Alpha Wildclaw, which has one of the highest play rates in Expedition mode at 21.48%. Admittedly, you do pay a little bit of a premium for the flexibility on the mana to damage ratio, but in a region with limited removal, the flexibility is worth it a lot. Now remember that you get up to 3 regions in Expedition mode, so use this alongside the flexible removal cards of other regions and you're going to soar through the Expedition rounds. Thermogenic Beam has an above average play rate for a spell at 10.95%, so it would seem a lot of people are starting to become aware just how flexible it is. And number 7 on the list is Judgement with a win rate of 60.16%. Judgement is a 8 mana cost fast spell from the Demacia region, with the effect that allows a battling ally to strike all battling enemies. The key word on this card is strike. If used on a card that triggers with strikes, like Garen or Laurent Chevalier, it can be used as a super easy way of setting off their effects whilst wiping out the opponent's board. There is a super overpowered combo where you use Judgement on a leveled up Fiora for an instant win if she just kills 2 extra opponents. If you aren't lucky enough to pick up Judgement and Fiora, then this card can be simply used on any card with high power as a fantastic way of wiping out the opponent's side of the board, which can lead to some pretty impressive comebacks. It has a very low play rate of 5.43%. This is mainly due to the rarity of epic cards in draft mode. Basically, if you're lucky enough to see this card, and you have a few powerful units, pick this card. At number 6 is Laurent Bladekeeper with a win rate of 60.53%. Laurent Bladekeeper is a 4 mana cost follower from the Demacia region with 2 power and 3 health. It has the effect that, on play, grant an ally 2 power and 2 health. As long as you play him when there is another unit on the battlefield, Laurent Bladekeeper can potentially shut down rush decks, which are very popular in Expedition mode. Additionally, you can use it to power up the ever-present and popular elusive cards in Expedition mode, which forms part of the elusive buffs deck which has frequently appeared in the meta. This card also works great with Braum, which has the second highest win rate out of all champions. By giving Braum a larger amount of health to regenerate and a small amount of power, it can quickly snowball into a real threat. Laurent Bladekeeper has a very high play rate of 20.18%. At number 5 on the list is War Chefs with a win rate of 60.82%. War Chefs is a 2 mana cost follower from the Demacia region with 2 power and 3 health. It has the effect of giving a supported ally an additional 1 power and health for the round. Units that have the support keyword grant a buff to the ally on the right when attacking. This card is great for Expedition mode due to the support it provides in early game. Couple this with any elusive or barrier cards, which both have very high play rates in Expedition mode, and you'll have no trouble getting the most out of it. If you see War Chefs or other support cards in the battlefield, there's a relatively simple strategy to countering it. Most units that grant support don't have the best stats. Since they are forced to battle in order to trigger their effect, they can be taken down with relative ease if you aim for the support cards when prioritizing targets. War Chefs is no pushover though, with a respectable 3 health. It has an above average play rate of 16.53%. At number 4 is Rising Spellforce with a win rate of 61.29%. Rising Spellforce is a 3 mana cost burst spell from the Piltover and Zarn region, which allows you to give an ally an additional 4 power and quick attack this round. This card is fantastic in Expedition mode in rush aggro decks where you need to deal as much damage as possible in few turns. You need to be super careful when you activate this card. Play it at the last moment to get the most out of it by tricking your opponent into thinking they will win a one-on-one. Use it to take out followers or champions that are key to your opponent, like Braum or Garen, so they do not have the chance to regenerate. This card can also be super useful on elusive cards, as it can be used to increase their power quickly by 4. As elusive cards generally don't have the greatest stats, this can be really useful, especially when your opponent uses one of their elusive cards to block you. This is where the quick attack perk comes in useful. This keyword means you will strike first before your blocker, but only during your attack phase, not when blocking. Use quick attack to protect those elusive cards with low health to help them fight another day. It has an extremely low play rate of 3.25%. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't even know this card existed. However, there is no reason why you shouldn't, now you do. At number 3 is Arena Battlecaster with a win rate of 61.63%. This card's effect makes rush down aggro decks a viable strategy in draft, since it gives all attacking allies extra attack, regardless of their faction. Interestingly, this card was buffed as Riot felt Battlecaster wasn't seeing a ton of use, even though it had the 3rd highest win rate out of all cards in Expedition mode. It got a small buff in the form of 1 extra health to help it line up better with other 2-drops and make it a more compelling option for Noxus decks. If you pair Trifarian Hopeful with Arena Battlecaster, they complement each other very well provided the enemy can't block, and this can lead to some lethal early game damage. It has an extremely low play rate of 3.94%. This is probably down to Noxus being one of the less played regions in Expedition mode. At number 2 is Redoubled Valour with a win rate of 61.82%. Redoubled Valour is a 6 mana cost slow spell from the Demacia region, with the effect that allows you to fully heal an ally, then double its power and health. When the opponent can't possibly counter with removal spells, this spell can make an already big threat even bigger. Use it on cards with Overwhelm where the additional power is even more important, like Alpha Wildclaw, which has a high win rate in Expedition mode. Additionally, it can be used with elusive cards like Yusvari to hit the Nexus for some huge damage. If you're lucky enough to have a leveled up Karma on the field, this can lead to some insane buffs where it could quadruple the power and health of a card. This works great in Expedition mode, where you have the luxury of up to 3 factions where you can pull off some combos you wouldn't have been able to otherwise do. It has a surprisingly low play rate of 5.44%. Finally, at number 1 is Progress Day. This has a win rate of 61.95%. Progress Day is an 8 mana cost burst spell from the Piltover and Zarn region, which allows you to draw 3 cards, then reduce their mana cost by 1. Progress Day is a great late game way to refill your hand and make big cards cheaper. Combine with other regions to make expensive spells playable. If you have the option, also pick Heimerdinger. It has the best rate of all champions in the game at 59.83%, and will be able to summon a T-Reg through the activation of the card. These cards were literally designed to be played with each other. Progress Day also works fantastic with cards like Lurch, which depend on expensive spells being cast. Additionally, you can take advantage of the free faction rule in Expedition mode to utilise expensive spells from other regions like Vengeance from the Shadow Isles and War Mother's Call from Demacia. This card has a very low play rate of 3.25%, although this is mainly down to the card being epic rarity. If you have a deck that thrives in the late game, make sure you pick this card. You will not regret it. Thank you very much for listening. You will notice I only covered spells and followers in this video. This is because I plan to cover champions in a separate video. My question of the day is, what card were you most surprised to see on this list? Please like and subscribe for more similar videos as we're heading towards the official Runeterra launch. I would also love to hear your ideas for future videos you would like me to do.